And we start with that story about the Women and Child Development Minister Maneka Gandhi, who's reignited the debate on the treatment of juveniles in cases of serious crimes.
Now, she said that individuals who are charged with crimes such as rape or murder should be tried as adults. Maneka supported a move to reduce the age bar from 18 to 16 years in cases of premeditated offences.
We are changing the law to, in fact, I'm working on it personally, and I will see that it is changed to bring 16-year-olds into the purview, because according to the police, 50% of all sexual crimes are 16-year-olds who know the JJ Act, Juvenile Justice Act, so they can do it. But now if we, for premeditated murder, for rape, if we bring them into the purview of the adult world, then it will scare them.
All right, joining us on the phone line right now is Kavita Krishnan. Kavita, what do you make of this move of the minister? She's saying the process has already been started by her ministry to change the Juvenile Justice Act. She doesn't want age to be any bar as far as treating criminals who are involved in cases of murder and rapes are concerned. They should be treated on par with adults.
No, I don't. I strongly disagree with this, and the reasons for this are actually laid out in great detail in the Justice Verma Committee report, which I think everybody seems to want to forget. The point is that that is the largest, most comprehensive recent consultation on the question of how to curb sexual violence, and unfortunately the previous government as well as this one don't seem in a mood to even turn the pages of the Verma Committee report and actually look at that. You see, that report was based on the actual experience of women's organizations working on the ground with survivors of rape. And I think their views need to be respected here. And what they have been saying has been that, in fact, 16-year-olds, precisely because they are 16-year-olds, are under greater pressure, peer pressure as well as pressure from older people, which is why usually when they come into the conflict with the law, one has to recognize that that is a especially vulnerable phase of life in which they are, and the potential for response is also much greater there. Which is why to say, oh, they are rapists and so let us treat them like adults, is essentially to accept defeat over there, and this will in no way curb the crime. This will in no way deter the crime, because young persons of that age are precisely at the age when they cannot think, when they cannot realize that, oh, it's a crime and so I may go to jail and I should not do it. This is something which they are in fact in a lesser position to be able to understand. Therefore, the whole question of accepting them as young children and accepting the challenge of changing their attitudes is something that the state will take on only if it actually acknowledges that they are young and they are children. And I think that that should not go. Right. Secondly, I think that to see this as an in this emotional kind of way is not right. One should see it in a very sane kind of way, going by the best practices in the world, going by the understanding of what is the context in which 16-year-olds commit crime. One final tiny point is that you see that when you already raised the age of consent to 18, which means that a 16-year-old boy who is even holding the hand of his girlfriend who is also 16 or 17 is going to be accused of rape now, which is what we were opposing even then, but that's already been done. Yeah. And now what's going to happen is, are you going to hang that rapist? Are you going to send that boy to jail for doing something perfectly innocent, which is not rape, which is consensual? But unfortunately, because the age of consent has been raised, even that consensual act is going to be seen as rape. Sure. Now you're going to change the law in order to allow to send them to jail?
I want to put that point also to Annie Raja, who's a social rights activist and member of the CPI, joining us now on the phone line as well. Ms. Raja, one of the reasons that you have this this idea of allowing certain cases to go to trial as adults is because in some cases it's a premeditated crime, and that's one of the distinctions that Maneka Gandhi is sought to highlight, that in premeditated cases where the person knowingly commits the crime and plans it out, maybe there's malice there and it's not unintentional, it's not someone who's immature.
Now, you see, first of all, I appreciate the concern of the minister about the increasing sexual crime against women. By agreeing to or acknowledging to that, I would like to say is that the problem does not lie in criminalizing the entire generation and addressing the issue. That cannot work as a deterrent. The thing is premeditated. She is referring to that word premeditated. Then now fornicated, everybody is accusing the women of misusing. Premeditated is also a thing which will be highly misused and criminalize the young people. And I very strongly feel that this is not the answer to the increasing sexual violence against women. And government should have a open mind to address this issue by examining the recommendations of the Verma committee report and the how to, or if the government wants to go a little beyond to that, also should have a discussion and dialogue with the different sections of the people.
Right.
Until and which police, this Delhi police who has taken 2,000 rupees for not to or given 2,000 rupees and asking the parent to not to file an FIR.
All
and
right.
that you will go by the advice of that police. And this is really ridiculous.
All right.
And it is absolutely unacceptable.
All right, just as this is about women's rights, it's also about child's rights, it's also about the rights of the juvenile. We also have on the phone line with us right now Ms. Purnima Advani. She's the former National Commission for Women chairperson. Ms. Advani, where do you stand in this debate? There seems to be a distinction that the minister is drawing as she talks about crimes which are premeditated.
Yes, I think that distinction is extremely important, and the word premeditated is crucial. So I think between the ages of 16 and 18, the discretion should be available to the court. It should not be that at the brink of the age, if a criminal-minded boy actually rapes a woman, he should go scot-free merely because the law does not permit it. And the courts are right in stating that their hands are tied because they have to go within the four corners of the law. They cannot expand the dimensions of law. They can only interpret the law as the legislature has laid down. So stating that, I heard what Ms. Ani Raja had to say. I do agree that consultations were important. I recall when I was the chair of the National Commission for Women, we had a countrywide consultation through the State Women's Commission on the issue of rape. The report is available at the commission. I'm sure the minister would also welcome the idea of looking at it. But what is important is timeline. Much has always gone into consultations, which is very healthy, very positive. I don't undermine it. But in today's world of technology, and we must reach to the grassroots.
Okay.
Consultations can't be in urbanized India.
Okay.
They have to include the villages. But once we have done that in a time-bound manner, implementation is crucial.
Sure.
Otherwise, we are losing out. And
Sure.
the second point is, law is not the answer to everything. Along with amendment in the law, execution is important. Raising the level of gender sensitivity of the police personnel is very crucial. And corruption, which has gone down to the lower ranks of the police, that is what needs to be also eradicated.
Okay. I want to bring Ms. Kiran Bedi in as well. She's a former police officer and someone who has a history of trying to reform criminals, most famously at Tihar jail, Ms. Bedi. I want to bring that aspect out here because the objective of juvenile justice is not punishment. It's also an attempt to reform a young criminal who may have been led astray. Do you think that by lowering the bar of majority over here would serve the idea of juvenile justice?
Yes, in the current situation, the Juvenile Justice Act does need a review. And Nirbhay's case and many others are proving it. And police officers are finding it very, very difficult to contain crime, particularly for those who are taking advantage of the Juvenile Justice Act. And I remember during my time in '93 in the prison assignment, we used to have separate wards for the 16-year-olds. We used to call them the Munda wards, which means the boys' ward, and had very special programs for them, education programs and reform programs. We used to do that. But then after that, the JJ Act came, and these people then, this age group had to go to reformatories of another kind, and we know how tough it is, how contaminated some of those children reform centers are.
Right.
But I said Jyoti's case, particularly Nirbhay's case, after Nirbhay's case, this debate had come up at that time, and I was then even then saying that we do need to relook at the age, and I would say the age must be fixed, because if you keep it fluid, then the years will go only into arguments by the defense of whether the judge should look at it in one perspective or the other. So there has to be a cut-off date by which there is no choice. But if you are such and such particular this age and you committed a crime, you are treated as an adult crime.
Sure.
So certain crimes can be considered declared as adult crimes, and not leave it to the judge to then, because otherwise the defense will take over and will take years and years and will delay the case further. So I would say I'm open for changes in the bringing the bar down, bringing the age down, because of the early criminality which is stepping into youth, which are either drop out or get involved into drugs or into delinquency.
Yeah.
All right, so clear difference of opinion among activists on the issue of lowering the juvenile age there for cases where premeditated crime has been committed. It's an issue over which there is a debate that's raging on. The minister clearly saying that she is in fact kicking in the process of change in Juvenile Justice Act.